Hello, hello. The doc is in. Today we are going to be reviewing, discussing, summarizing chapter 243 of Tokyo Revengers. Coming quick recap of last week's episode. We basically have Takemichi, the final formulation of the second generation of the Tokyo Manji gang. We got all the captains being shown, some of the vice captains, some of the people who are going to be basically just the important characters we care about who are going to be taking part. Takemichi is going to be the leader. He's now become the head of Toman, second generation, and Mikey left, but he did become the head of Toman, so his prediction on that part was indeed true. And now, and that was basically the end of the chapter. We got Takemichi giving a big old speech, and he said it's going to be our revenge, which is basically a reference to Tokyo Revengers, the title. And then we get another one in this chapter. But speaking of this chapter, let's just get right into the beginning. So we start off with Kokonoi. Well, basically all of the Kanto Manji gang, as we'll see going throughout the chapter, is all having this big meeting. And basically Koko is like, hey, the Tokyo Manji gang, they declared war on us. All right, we're gonna have our big fight September 9th. And Koko is basically like, oh yeah, like Toman's being led by Takemichi, and Mikey's basically like, he must have came back. Now, obviously, everybody else in the room probably doesn't really know what he's mentioning, but he's basically saying like, oh, he must have came back from the future, which does make the point that he probably didn't know that he came back from the future initially, like when he got beat up by Mikey before. So that's just something to think about. And also, during when Mikey says this, we also get a good setup of the elites of the Kanto Manji gang. We got Sanzu as the vice president, Kokucho as the defense unit captain, special unit attack force, whatever, is the Itini brothers. Commander officer is Mochizuki Kanji. That's the guy with the ponytail from the Tenjuku arc. He was like a big guy. I think he fought Chifuyu, if I remember correctly. And Shioen, that guy who literally just gets beat up every time he shows up. He's just jobs to show that other people are strong. But I so assume since he's basically in all these uh, elite gangs, he must be strong. But he's the commanding officer. Then we get some interesting reveals because obviously we kind of not like knew, but we kind of knew about all those other guys. So we find out the commando unit captain is Wakasa, and the commando unit vice captain is Arashi, which was quite the surprise. I mean, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait for Ben." Oh, that's his name. See, okay, so Benkei, the duo, those guys, yeah, Benkei and Wakasa. Everybody was like, "Oh, Benkei and Wakasa are gonna join the new Toman, and they're gonna help fight." They're throwing us for a loop after saying, "Nah, they're gonna be on the other team." Which I mean, I guess you would think they would stick with Senju in them, but no, I guess not. hmm And a member of the commando unit is Hanma. Once again, surprising because as I mentioned in the last chapter, people were talking about how everybody kind of assumed Hanma was going to be coming back into the story, obviously, because there's definitely something going on with his character, and I've seen a lot of discussions going on like what's Hanma's deal, how does he fit into like the overall story? Because clearly he's important, but like where does he fit exactly? And people were also talking about like, oh, I think he's gonna join the Toman gang, and I was like, nah, that doesn't really make sense, because he did help murder Mikey's sister, so it's like putting him on the team's like weird. Also, he's just kind of evil in Tokyo Revenger standards, so to speak. I mean, you get the point. He's basically evil, so it's kind of like I personally didn't think that was gonna happen, but no, he's here. He's hanging out, vibing, the works. Also, interesting point is that he's wearing a mask. I don't know if that will come up as a plot point because we remember Sanzu for the longest time was wearing a mask, and then he had the thingies on his lips. So maybe there's something going on with Hama, or maybe he just thinks it's aesthetic. I mean, you never know. Hama is one of the characters with the most drip in the future, so maybe this is like where he starts trying out stuff. From there, basically, they're just basically saying like, okay, we're gonna have the war on September 9th and whatnot, in like this old cargo bay, whatever. And we just cut immediately to the day of the big fight. And I was kind of surprised at that. I thought we would have, I mean, all things considered, technically all this stuff coming to this point has been built up. But I felt like there was going to be more going on. But I suppose at this point, it's like there's not really much else. All the players in play have already been introduced, either, I mean, been introduced previously. So anybody who's hopping in, we can reasonably explain during the fight. I say that because people are under the impression that Taiju's going to be coming in. And I feel like he is too. I feel like he's going to fight for Toman. I feel like. But this is just a guess. But continuing on, so basically we cut to the day of the fight, and Takemichi and Hina are talking, and they're at her apartment, and basically Takemichi's being like, oh, I came back to the past, I was so afraid the first time, and he's basically being like, back in the day, I used to be a coward, I came all this way to see you, but now I have everybody's feelings on my back, and I'm gonna stand tall, and all that. And basically, while Takemichi's like, in essence, basically be like, yeah, I got this. I'm gonna stand tall. I'm gonna win for everybody. And basically, he was like, boy, you ain't that confident. Stop playing. Tell us the truth. How do you really feel? And basically, he's like, yeah, I'm horrified. I don't want to die. And you know what? That's real. That's real. Because, well, I'll talk about that stuff afterwards. But yes, I can understand why he's afraid. And basically, Hina's just trying to help him, cool down his nerves by uh, letting out how he feels, and then he feels better. And so then from there, Takemichi basically says, "All right, I'm out, but I will be back," which is a good sign. And so Hina says she's gonna wait for him, and then we get the beautiful panel. The Tokyo Revengers gang is here. Yes, it is Toman second generation, but the flag definitely says Tokyo Revengers, and that's all I ever wanted. And we see the flag while everybody's riding on their bikes to the old cargo bay, wherever that is, and the war is about to begin. We also see Mikey's gang starting to get together. They're all walking, which is interesting, but I guess you could say that could be like a touch on the fact that Mikey is operating, he's no longer operating on like a kiddie level. Like he's going down the dark path of like a proper gang. So like they don't need to ride on bikes anymore. It's like, nah, we're real. We're real. And that's basically the end of the chapter. Um yeah, overall pretty good chapter, quite enjoyable. Kind of fast paced for the fact that the war is happening. Well, we're kind of just cutting straight to them having the war. But on the other hand, I'm like, what else would they really need to do? And nothing really. I mean, Takamichi's already resolved to do this. He's already created the gang. He's already got a bunch of members. The only thing that I could really think of is like maybe getting like every person like a vice captain, then maybe like something quick for like getting a whole bunch of other people to join the gang. But I don't even know necessarily that they're going to have like a huge like war how they had in Tenjuku. It might just be a commanders versus commanders type of thing. It might just be because you see when Mikey heads out to go meet at the bay to have the fight, we don't see him like bring a whole bunch of random people. It's just the commanders from what we can see. Obviously they could like show up afterwards, but I would have reason to believe that it's possible that this might end up being just a not 1v1 situation, but just the captains, vice captains, and elite members versus captains, vice captains, and elite members type of thing. Speaking of it being versus, I feel like at this time, I don't know that Koman, as I like to reference them as, Kanto Manji Gang, by the way, can lose to Toman. Because you say Koman is made of pretty much a lot of some of the strongest people in series. Some of the strongest people in series, or at least the most hyped up people in series, right? Versus a lot of heavy hitters. These are some strong people. These people know how to fight, whatnot, whatnot. But we're talking about like Mikey, Kikucho, Hanma, Wakasa, and Benkei. They deserve some respect, and so on. Like I said, these are some heavy hitters. Now, I guess you can make a case that like maybe they're not like the strongest people, but they're definitely some of the strongest people. Like these people definitely put up their own fight. Versus Toman, we got some strong people. We got Inupi, Mitsuya, Chifuyu, Hakai, Senju. These are some strong people in their own right, but each of these people aren't known for like being like the lead performers, so to say, of their fights. You follow? But the people they're facing against are known for being like the lead performer of their fights, like of their like big gang wars, so to say. So it's kind of like I see that it's possible for them to win, but it's like looking at the other team, I'm like these people are like really really strong. Now, get me wrong. Obviously, it's probably going to end up that they win in the end. But I'm just saying, just from a looks perspective, it's like this is Mikey's gang, this is Takamichi's gang. Mikey's gang is full of cold-blooded murderers and just beefy people, and Takamichi's gang is made up of pretty strong people, but they're just simply not like, in my mind at least, they're not referenced on the same level. Now, again, given, I'm sure they'll pull it off one way or another, but still, it's just how it looks. But I'm sure something will work out. And who knows? Maybe Takamichi gets a friendship boost, and now he's throwing hands with people. You know, maybe he beats up Shihoin this time around. That would be pretty hype, low key. Low key, high key, that'd be pretty hype. But that's about all I want to say for this chapter. Can't wait for the next one. It seems like we're heading straight off into like pretty much the ending area. I'm pretty sure the manga will probably end by the end of the year. I wouldn't even be surprised if it ended before the third quarter of the year, if we're going into the final battle. Because once the fight ends, maybe a little bit epilogue, maybe go back to the future and everything. But yeah, thank you for watching. Leave a like if you like. Leave a dislike if you dislike. Comment if you want. The doc is out. Peace.